that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. Today I have for you Book 3 in the Legacy of the Force series, Tempest, by Troy Denning. I have to say, the art for Legacy of the Force, while may not be the Japanese cover art by that I was showing in the thumbnails for all of my New Jedi Order reviews, and even Darknest had it. Out of all the American covers, I vastly prefer this over most of the covers that were American that we got for New Jedi Order. And oh my god, like, look at this. We got Tinoka right here, as an adult. She's got her really cool Rancor lightsaber. We can see her little stub, because she never got a new arm. And just really good, nice little piece of artwork there. It's kind of simple, but it's still really, really quite something, and I'm a big fan of it. So yes, Book 3, Tempest, by Troy Denning. This one is a bit of a lighter book, I should say. It really harps down on the kind of the tragedy and the dark descent and the very serious nature that both Aaron Alston, although Aaron Alston was also very good with the humor, but it was a very serious tone in that first book, and so was, especially by Karen Traviss, serious. This book is a little bit less so. I mean, it's a serious thing still, but it's a lot more calmed down. It's a bit more fun, but still with just as much nuance as before. So right now, with Book 3, we have, of course, Hanalea continuing to try to help the Corellians, along with Jaina being in between this whole thing, because she's supposed to be above it all as a Jedi Knight, but she's, in between her responsibilities to the Galactic Alliance and to her family and to the Force itself. We have Luke and Mara continuing to argue and debate over Jason, starting to lose faith in Jason, though still being conflicted with Jason, as they're also trying to figure out the whole situation with Lamaya as they learn that she is, in fact, around and alive. And then we got, of course, everything with Jason and Ben as they continue to support the, Galactic Alliance Guard and all the stuff going on with that. And, of course, we have the Hapen people again, and we get to see Tinoka some more, which is always nice to see her, and a little bit of Lana. So all that stuff in here, and an assassin trying to kill the Hapen Queen and her child. So all that stuff is going on. And so while this whole series is the descent of Jason Solo, this is a break, because Jason doesn't really actively further degress. He's kind of just flat right now in the same sort of arc that he is spiraling down, but he's kind of stuck here. Like, he's not furthering down his descent to villainy just yet. So again, a little bit of a breather from the main plot of that, but it was really fun, I have to say. This was a quicker and easier read than I think Betrayal was, because while Betrayal's opening and Betrayal's ending were top-notch, the middle there kind of dragged just a little bit, which I'm surprised to say because it's Alston, but that is what it is. But this one pretty much breezes by. I still prefer Karen Traviss's book. Again, from memory, I think Karen Traviss just had the best writing out of the whole 9 books, but we'll see if that's true on a reread. But overall, without getting into spoilers, I found this book to be a lot of fun. We also get a returning character from Dark Nest, which is a bit more controversial, I will say. I'll be the first to admit. Not really a big fan of it. They explain it adequately enough, like it makes sense. Like in the explanation they give, I can buy it. It's not like a contradiction or something that doesn't make sense. It just seems extremely unnecessary, and I'm not really a big fan of it. So that was something negative from this book. For those who think I just will give no problems whatsoever. I just don't like that this character's returned. It just feels extremely unnecessary and dumb. That being said, nothing about this person's return is inherently contradictory or anything. Just why? That's kind of the main thing. But then there's also a really cool connection to the prequels, which was really great, and it's something that I can see pissing off a lot of people because they hate the prequels. But at the same time, this is what the EU is all about. Connections, baby. And I'll get into why it's fine in spoilers, but to anybody who says it's stupid that this person returns just out of nowhere, I'll say, well, then you should have an issue with Boba Fett just appearing out of nowhere in New Jedi Order, because Boba Fett is a character, Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy, right? And then he just F's off for the rest of the timeline. Oh, maybe he has a little comic here and there. But in terms of the novel, like the main storyline, he doesn't exist anymore. For the rest of the Bantam era, and all the way up into Unifying Force, Boba Fett just isn't a part of the story. So I don't want to hear it. So if he can just randomly pop back in, then this person can too. Piss off. But overall, fantastic. Really fun. Again, I'm really looking. I'm looking, guys. I'm looking for this clone Jason, for this doesn't make sense out of nowhere. Oh my god, just doesn't fit or compute with the Jason we knew. I guess you guys are living in a mirror universe. I don't know what you're reading, because this is perfectly fine. I mean, again, 5 years, Dark Nest, there's a year in between the first and second book, so add another year there, and then another 5 years after the second and third book of Dark Nest. Then this series, and within this very series, Jason shows nuance, complexity, and ambiguity with his shifting tides and emotions as he goes furthering down to the dark side. It's not one and done. It's not, here's Jason. Consistent character development throughout the series. In fact, I'll tell you right now, Jason will not be a stereotypical Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine or villain as you would expect a villain to be till after the 5th book. So this idea that it's just out of nowhere. No, there's character development showing this progression. Again, it all leads back to Dark Nest. Either you accept the transition or you don't. The truth of the matter is, for all the people that cause a huff and fuss about this entire series, is you don't like the direction. And that's okay. But lying that it is written badly or that it doesn't make sense consistently is just false. You have your own idea for how the story should go, and maybe that agrees with some certain authors. But there's nothing about it that contradicts anything. So ultimately, it is a you problem. So just remember that and stop spreading lies. Anyway, I'm getting to spoilers now. If you don't want spoilers, get out of here. Alright, spoiler time. Also, I got some bread. Don't mind that. So, Elemenrar and the World Brain. So, Elemenrar is still alive. She apparently got eaten, but she survived. Now, they do explain it. They say that she had already ignited her lightsaber when she was getting eaten. And she did in Dark Nest. She did. She ignited it. But it seemed like it didn't matter, like it just didn't work out, and she still died. But according to this series, no, after Leia abandoned her, left her to get eaten, she apparently did slice open his throat and survived. So she's not dead. Again, it just feels unnecessary for her to be included in the story at all. It seems like she's long overstayed her welcome. Her big time to shine was in Dark Nest. It seems like her story should be over. But here she is, still around, now helping Lumaya and Jason, because she has this weird view of the balance now because she's gone even more insane. So she's not a hindrance to the story. She just doesn't really add anything either. And it just seems like a pointless decision to include her. But at the same time, we also get the World Brain. Now, I've also heard this complaint quite a bit that, oh my god, Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi, they go against New Jedi Order because Coruscant's just beautiful and perfect again. It just completely ignores New Jedi Order, even though it constantly talks about the world still looking like a jungle. You do realize it's been over a decade since the war, right? You do realize it's been like 11 or 12 years since then, right? You do realize things start to rebuild after that time, right? Look at World War II. Do you not realize the things that were being rebuilt 10 years after the fact? Or are you just stupid or something? Because that's what it really seems like. Because, if anything, if you've ever seen Legend of Korra, season 3 and 4, there's this stuff where, like, the spiritual realm or anything, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that it look up Legend of Korra season 3, like, city or something. You'll see pictures where it's, like, city, and then also, like, jungle and forest stuff, like, mixed together. So, like, they did start to rebuild, but there's also jungle and stuff kind of just there forever. That's this world. So the world brain's still around, it's still doing its thing, and Jason's talking to it, because they're buddies now, because of Traitor. And then a Lemurrar shoots it with a poison dart that kills it. So there's not only continuity, but consistency. The people that are saying that this doesn't work just don't read. They look at stuff that upsets them and then ignore everything else to fit their narrative, because they're angry little people that don't want to be happy with their lives. And that's okay, but I have a life and I'd rather be happy because life sucks. So, but if you want to be angry, waste your time doing that. That's your problem. But it makes sense, it works, and it's great. Not going to disown my son just because he's acting this way. Again, Han's out of character. That's also something I've heard people say, because he disowns his son. Because he says he'll throw his kid out of a window. Now that's a spoiler because that hasn't happened yet. That's going to take another 3 books of development for Han to say. I won't give the specific reasons for why he says that, and in what context he'd be so angry as to make that claim. But context matters, which people like to ignore constantly to fit their narrative. But here, despite what's going on with Jason, his parents may be extremely upset and angry and distraught and dismayed over how their son, in their eyes, they perceive him to be going bad. But they still love their son. They will not disown their son at this point in time, as he has not done anything egregious enough for them to make such a claim. So pay attention, read properly, use your reading glasses, and stop making false accusations about characterization. New Corellia Chief of State wants Tino Ka dead. So basically, I forget the guy's name, I didn't write it down because I don't care enough about him, but a new guy took over after Thraken died, and he tried to trick Han and Leia to be basically bait, as they tried to assassinate Tino Ka. And of course the Alliance doesn't want that to happen because they're allies. So there's 4D chess being played by multiple different political factions right now. Again, Jason may be descending into darkness, but this series is just as much about the moral gray morality of all these conflicting, opposing sides. You know, and there's even a part where Mars says, we are all trying to do the right thing, but we have different ideas of how to do that. That's literally the world today. Religion, to politics, to whatever. If people actually, you know, in real life, most people aren't evil. Most people aren't the stereotypical Hitler, right? And even then, there's probably nuance there that I'm not willing to give. Because I'm not God, I'm not as forgiving. But most people are nuanced. Most people do not see themselves as the villain. Correct? Republican, Democrat, somebody from Germany, somebody from Africa, somebody from this or there or that or that. Everybody's got their own idea of how to make the world better. Nobody wants to genocide most people don't want to genocide the entire population. They want happiness, they want stability, they want peace. How do you obtain those means? Different people have different ways of trying to reach a same goal. The problem is nobody agrees on which way to do that. Hence conflict, hence division, hence war. So, again, right now, Jason may be descending. Right now, he's still, even though he accepted the path of Sith, is still far cry from a villain. Because right now, he still loves his family, he still wants to do good by them, still wants love and acceptance. He just knows that he probably can't have that if he's going to continue going down the path he's going for the sake of everyone. But anyway, the point is there's a lot of things going on right now that are morally gray and ambiguous. Nobody's completely and utterly in the right in this series. And Jason's nuance, there's so many things here. Not only is he trying to learn about the Sith way, he is also the head of the Galactic Alliance Guard. He's also being looked at as a political figure. He's trying to do right by everyone, which means he can't allow his own personal feelings to get in the way. But of course to get in the way. These are his parents. These are his family. These are people he cares about. But at the same time, and this is true in real life too, if you are the president of the United States or the mayor or the political head of whatever state or country you want to talk about, right? You have certain obligations. If your parents are bombing orphanages, they got to go to prison. Doesn't matter if they're your parents or not, because they're doing wrong. They don't get special treatment just because they're family. That's part of the conflict over Jason. He's getting a lot of conflicting information too. He isn't infallible. He isn't all-knowing. He doesn't have all the facts and details and things within his disposal. So he's getting certain information. Well, then my parents got to go to jail. It's not about me anymore. They've done wrong. And then he gets conflicting information saying that they're not doing this. And he's like, well, damn, I don't want to put them in prison if they shouldn't be in prison. But I also don't want to make people think that I give special privilege only to my family. And then you have everything with Lumaya. As Lumaya says, you're excellently manipulating Ben. And he's like, I'm not trying to. I don't want that for him. He's like, well, you're going to have to. You're going to have to give up on your family and stop trying to be this you can't have conflicting loyalties here. You got to be able to go rise above your family and your personal feelings and do what must be done. And Jason gets visibly angry at her for suggesting that he should manipulate Ben or anything, because he doesn't want to do that, because he loves his cousin, because that's his family. Again, he fights back consistently throughout this book of actually being a true villain. Lumaya is trying to steer him in that direction. He's fighting it. He does accept the fact that he needs to accept the Sith way and follow that path, and you can argue whether or not that's something he would do, but it's just another avenue to knowledge. There is no light or dark side. Remember? That's what your gospel unifying force taught us. There is only you. But anyway, my point is that Jason is completely and utterly nuanced throughout this entire book and the last two books. He is falling. He is slowly turning to the dark side, because the dark side is a thing. It is not only you, but he constantly fights back against it. Constantly. Because he doesn't want to be bad. He believes himself to be good. Hence the conflict. Hence the grayness of all of his decisions and actions, and how he can't fully commit to being a villain right now, because he isn't one. It requires sacrifice, as the series keeps saying. It requires going over the villain line, which is officially killing someone you care about. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But overall, I love Jason's nuance. In these past 3 books, he's been super nuanced. He's not a villain yet. He's still, even though he's accepted a certain path, is still transitioning and evolving into such a character. So even just within this series, there's development toward that initial, or to that eventual outcome. So this idea that it's just villain, no, you're just wrong. Sorry. What else we got here? Getting to see Hape Scan, it just feels like such young Jedi Knight stuff to see Zach and Jaina and Tino Ka, interact and stuff. It's just really nice to see. And this was actually really sad and heartbreaking. And I think Jason doesn't do this maliciously. I think he does this as a mourning sort of thing, as out of respect, because he names his flagship Star Destroyer the Anakin Solo. And while to him that's something of an honor to name his brother after that, of course everyone else is going to see that in a negative light, especially Han and Leia. We also have this mine vision. Asherod? Jason? Or something else? Now this is quite interesting, especially after having read Supernatural Encounters. Because in the earlier book, in this very series, we had Jason hearing voices that sometimes sounded like him. Didn't really sound like Lumaya. Was it Lumaya? Was it him? Or was it something else entirely? The book is vague. And again here we get a vision of him seeing a dark man, calling him mine, mine, mine. Interesting, because they don't really elaborate on that. Is it Ashrod? Is it Jason? Or is it something else? And, obviously this series was made long before Supernatural Encounters came out, but it is interesting to view it from that light. What do we learn about in Supernatural Encounters? By Joe Bongiorno. The Father of Shadows. The Satan, basically, of Star Wars. The Malcor, if you want to use Tolkien as a reference. Someone who's had a vested interest in humanity specifically, and in the Sith. Mine. And Jason can't recognize what voice that is. Makes you wonder. What did Jason see during his 5-year sojourn? And is it more than even he remembers? Something to keep in mind. Finally, Zach gives up. Zach has been simping for all of New Jedi Order, for Darkness, and finally here, he stops simping over Jaina. Gives up. Which, thank God, because she's so much better with Jagged Fell anyway. So thankfully, that plot thread is finally dropped utterly and completely here. They're just friends. Jagged Fell returns. He was stranded for 2 years. That really sucks. I'm really glad to see Jagged Fell again. He's one of my favorite characters that they introduced in the Expanded Universe, and there'll be more for him moving forward, but I'm glad he's back, and I'm glad he's a little salty with Han and Leia, as he has every right to be. So it's good to see him again, and he's rocking a beard right now, which is pretty fun. But the big important thing is he's been exiled from the Chiss Ascendancy. Now this is important because in the Legacy comics by John Ostrander, we have a new empire, the Fel Empire, which means it must come from the Fel line. But that means the Fel at some point was no longer a part of the Chiss Ascendancy. It means at some point they founded a new empire. So that most likely started with Jagged Fell. So I guess we'll see where that goes moving forward. But yeah, so he's been exiled from Chiss due to everything with the Dark Nest. Here's the big thing. Aurra Sing. You remember Aurra Sing from the Star Wars Republic comics and so forth and so on? Was put in jail by Aayla Secura. And then she got out during the Coruscant Nights trilogy. I don't remember if she got put back in prison by Vader, but she definitely got out. Whether or not she got back in to prison or not really doesn't matter. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the Vong War shook everything up, and she was able to escape. But again, the idea that, oh, it's so stupid, like, why haven't we heard about her? Da-da-da-da-da. Why haven't we heard about Boba Fett until this series? She's just been bounty hunting. She's been doing what she always does. Or she was in prison till the Vong War. Then after the Vong War, she just went back doing what she does best, which is bounty hunting. It's not really a big deal to me. And she's an alien. It's not like she's a human or anything. I can buy that she's still alive. I really don't care. It's cool to get the EU connection, first off, and just a prequel connection. It's great. I love it. Is it a little on the nose that they all know who she is? I guess. Okay, whatever. I don't mind it. I like when the EU does stuff like that. So it was cool to see Aurra again, and I'm glad she just got to be part of it for a little bit. I thought that was really fun. One thing I didn't like was the term bug slut. Lumaya calls a Lemarar a bug slut. Now, whether that's accurate or not, that doesn't feel very Star Wars to me. So I do not appreciate Denning using that particular language in Star Wars because I don't really recall too many times anybody being called a slut. They use other colorful, creative words, but I don't think I've ever heard the term slut be used. So there you go. There's something I dislike about this book. I don't like the term bug slut being in Star Wars. Just like in Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, they use like the B word or something. And I didn't approve of that either because I don't like real world cuss words being in Star Wars because they have their own fake ones. Like you don't need to say effing because you have criffing. So it's the same thing, but they have their own made up word for it. So you don't need to do that. They hint at more Sith, which was cool because the one Sith are already around. We just don't get much of them. till near the end of Fate of the Jedi, and then even still, they will not become a huge, gigantic Ulta threat till the Legacy comics. But we are getting hints that they are already around. So my hints that she and Jason are not the only Sith around. We have Jason versus Aura, which is very cool. We got a fight scene between them as Jason tries to protect Alana, and he's going to use foresighting on her and completely obliterate, Aura. But then Alana's watching, so he goes back on that. But it was really good, and again, still showed more of the conflicting emotions of Jason Solo. And Ben continues to be just one of my favorites. I don't have too much to say about him other than I love him every time he's on the page. He's just such a fun and good character, just a good kid. Love him so much. But overall, the series is fantastic so far. I'm loving it, appreciating it, and I can't wait to read the next one, Exiles by Aaron Olston. Till next time, guys. May the Force be with you.